something I get asked quite a lot is how I ended up in physics. And most people would expect that, you know, you're in physics, you must think that Einstein's really great, and he was a very good scientist, but he's not really the thing that caused me to end up in physics. I ended up in physics because of this guy. Some of you might know who he is. He's MacGyver. He used to be on a television show in the 1980s when I was a kid, and MacGyver was a really amazing guy. He used to go around and get himself into all sorts of mischief, and then get himself back out of that mischief by creating, you know, all sorts of interesting things. You know, for example, he'd have a knife and a piece of bamboo and he'd turn it into a bomb or a gun or something like that and get himself out of trouble. So another reason why I ended up in physics, I became really interested in chemistry when I was a kid, and my parents refused to give me a chemistry set. They thought that I'd burn the house down, so they gave me a physics kit instead, thinking, oh, you know, all nice and safe, there's no nasty chemicals in there for him to poison himself. And had they known a little bit more physics, they'd realised that I could do far more damage with some physics than I could with any amount of chemistry. So some of the good things that come about is having a job in science, because I get asked quite a lot by students, you know, what's science like? You must spend a lot of time sort of sitting in the lab doing lots of hard work. And it's true, but some of the nice aspects of the job are the hours are really flexible and the environment's quite good. Many years ago I used to spend a lot of hours in the lab, and now I spend a lot of hours sitting around in coffee shops trying to have good ideas. You can get to play with some really expensive toys in physics, so if you're interested in how things work and pulling things apart and that sort of thing, it's really good. One of the really good aspects of doing science for a living is that you get lots of travel. You're often going to labs in other parts of the world to do experiments or going to present at conferences. And one of the nice aspects is not often it's not just short travel, it's long travel. So I'm just about to spend 6 months working in Sweden in a couple of weeks from now. And one of the other better aspects of it is that you have a job that you really enjoy, and you get a lot of really hard challenges that come up along the way. So how did I get to where I am? Many years ago I was in a similar position to you. Actually, if you have a look at the back of my high school jersey there, you'll notice that I finished the HSC in 1992. So I did my HSC, I did lots of science subjects, as many as I could, but I also did English as well, and I'll come back to that in a moment. I then went to university and I did a Bachelor of Science degree majoring in physics, and I actually went to university wanting to do astronomy and ended up at the end not doing astronomy at all. I ended up doing semiconductor devices instead. I then did a PhD in physics, and PhD is a little bit similar to an apprenticeship in science in some respects. When you do your bachelor's degree, it's very much like the HSC. You sort of do classes and you do exams and you do this over and over again. And when you do a PhD, it's completely different. You stop doing classes and you stop doing exams, and what you do is you go and work in someone's lab and you learn the tricks of the trade and you work your way up until you get to the point where they consider you to be a professional, and then you go out and do it for yourself. So I did my PhD and I spent a bit of time in other countries doing experiments along the way, and now as a physicist my time gets roughly divided 50-50 between teaching physics at university. So some of you who end up at university doing physics in the next couple of years may well have me teaching some of your classes. And I spend the other half of my time doing experiments and looking at new ways of making electronic devices and so forth. So I just want to finish by dispelling one myth for doing physics. There's this sort of prevailing view that floats around that in order to have a career in physics, you need to be some kind of Einstein, good at maths and all these sorts of things. And it actually requires quite a lot of skills that some of the people that you would normally pick as being future physicists may or may not have. So I think that the number one skill that you need to have in order to be a really good physicist is really good communication skills. And so those of you who want to go on to do physics or any science in school, there's always this tendency, and I used to think the same way, that what you want to do is do all the science subjects you can. And English, who needs English? It's getting in the way of me doing my science. And what you actually want to do is you want to do as much English as you can if possible, because eventually you're going to come out and you're going to need to be able to communicate your science to other people, and you're going to need to be able to get money and all these sorts of things, and that requires you to be able to write and communicate quite well. Of course, you need to have a good knowledge of physics. That's always the way, so you need to be doing quite well in your physics courses. But then there's a lot of the things that are common in just about any job. So you need to be able to work well in a team, you need to be able to think on your feet, you need to be able to work hard and drive yourself to achieve results and be able to manage people and all those sorts of things. And so I think I might finish there and let it open for questions.